To get started very easily on this server here, you can simply access one of the newbies chats in the newcomer rooms. As mentioned, you have the server right here, then you have different categories. In this case, we need the newcomer rooms categories, or one of these. And there you can just select one of the newbie server. Here, for example, newbie 23. And inside these chats, you see the prompts of other users and the images Midjourney generated based on these prompts. Again, we are using prompts. We know this concept from ChatGPT already. But if you look at these prompts here, these are all the prompts added by other users of the Midjourney Discord server. You see that the prompts are different than the ones we saw in ChatGPT. The prompts are more about keywords and about being as concise as possible. We'll dive into how to create such prompts in a bit more detail later throughout this module. But the core idea is that you can add a prompt inside one of these chats, and then it takes a while until Midjourney generates the images for you based on these prompts. And while we're inside the server, more and more images are generated based on prompts added by other users. And you can also add your prompts in here, but to be honest, I don't think it's a very organized way to find your own images again. Therefore, I recommend another way to create your images in Midjourney. In addition to having these public chats, where also everybody sees your prompts and images, you can also exchange direct messages in Discord, like in many other chat tools. And if you start a direct conversation with the Midjourney bot, so this is basically the user, so to say, that generates the images, then you have all your images and all your prompts organized in your own private message channel. To be able to exchange messages with the Discord chatbot here, you have to enable direct messaging inside this server first. For this, you access the server settings up here in this area. Go down to privacy settings and there enable direct messages. So this here should be activated. By selecting done, you can now simply right click onto the Midjourney bot. So you can find the Midjourney bot over and over here in this newbies channel. So you right click it. And now you select message. And this now brings us to our direct messages here to our chat with the Midjourney bot. And inside this chat, we will now create all our images with Midjourney. Midjourney is a different AI than the one we saw with ChatGPT. Therefore, initiating this image creation process works a bit different with different prompts, so to say, than we saw it with ChatGPT. We will dive into prompt engineering in a lot of detail in the next module of this course. Here, I just want to focus onto the basics when using Midjourney. Therefore, writing specific and detailed prompts is not the core focus now. However, we have to write a prompt or a command to initiate the image creation process. As you see, I have some images in here already. And to create the images, we always go down to our message area here once again. Now, if you want to create an image of a tropical island, for example, this doesn't work as we are used to do it in ChatGPT. So for example, create an image of a tropical island. This won't work. This just adds our message to the chat, as we know it from a typical chat-like conversation. Instead, as we saw it already with the subscribe command, we have to add a slash ahead of any command, ahead of any interaction we want to start with the Midjourney bot. You can see a lot of different commands that are available in here, and many of these will be covered in this and the next module. The subscribe command is something you know already, but the most important command is the /imagine command, which allows us to add our prompt afterwards. So if we add this command now, in here we can now add the information about the image that should be generated. And prompts in Midjourney are all about keywords. So we don't add full phrases in here, we just type something like tropical island, then we add a comma just for better readability for us human beings. So we could add something like beach and sunshine. With enter, we now start the image creation process. And instead of adding our message to the chat, we get this bot answer here with the information that our image creation process is in the queue, so to say. Now it started. And now we get the percentage indicator here when the image will be finished. Now it is done, and I think we have some decent results already. Midjourney always provides the images created in a so-called grid with 4 different images. You can then select these images to make these a bit bigger. And then you can also open the images in the browser to show these in the full resolution. If we zoom into here like this, we get the full quality of our images, so to say. Each image is created in a resolution of 1024 × 1024 pixels by default in the most recent Midjourney versions. And what you can also see already is that although we use the same prompt, obviously, all images show an island with the beach and some sunshine, but the images are quite different, especially if you compare this image here, for example, with the ones above. We have a different setting. This is a bit darker, this is a bit brighter. A different image style, and so on. So these are just the outcomes we get based on this quite short and not very detailed prompt. We won't dive into image styling here in this module, I mentioned this already. Therefore, we'll just take these 4 images as given now and dive deeper into Midjourney's features. Because below our images, we have some options here now, and we should explore these as a next step. I mentioned that images are created in a so-called grid of 4 images. The images can be referred to by numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. Image 1 is always the one at the left top, then we have image 2 next to it, image 3 and image 4. We have 3 ways to interact with this grid now, or with these images inside the grid. One option is the regenerate option right here. We have the upscale option for specific images. And we have the variation option also for specific images. Let's get started with the regeneration of images, so with this button right here. As ChatGPT, Midjourney has a randomness built into it. This means if you're using the same prompt again and again, you will never get exactly the same results. And this regenerate button does exactly that. It runs the same prompt again and therefore provides different results. You never lose your initial result though. So if I now press this regenerate button, you see a new answer is created by the bot. The initial images remain unchanged. And now we get another grid with 4 images, but these images look quite different than the ones we saw with our initial prompt. The left one is our grid we got when we ran the prompt initially. The right grid is the one we got with the regeneration process. And as you see, both grids obviously contain the core idea of our prompt, an island with beach and the sunshine, but the outcome looks quite different. So instead of copying and pasting the prompt again and again, you can just regenerate the images if the initial result didn't completely satisfy you. Obviously, you should always consider fine-tuning your prompt, adding more keywords and so on, but as mentioned, this will be covered in the next module. The next option are variations. Variations allow you to generate a grid of 4 images based on an image you selected. So for example, I could go back to my initial grid and take this 4th image down here, so this one, and now create a variation based on this image. So Midjourney uses the parameters, the look so to say, of this image it created, and now tries to create 4 new images which look quite similar, but which have some detail changes. So if you have a look at this image we created, you see that we have differences regarding the clouds, regarding the waves, regarding the stones that we can see at the beach. So the general look of the image remains unchanged, but we change slight details inside this image. And this already brings us to the last core option here, and this is the upscale option, so the U for specific images. Initially, upscale had 2 main purposes. The first purpose is to isolate the specific image from the grid, to allow you to download the image and to further use it in your projects. The second purpose was to upscale the resolution of the image. As mentioned, with the latest Midjourney versions, images by default always have a resolution of 1024 x 1024 pixels, and this resolution remains unchanged even after the upscale option was applied. So if I now upscale maybe not one of these images, instead I want to have a more realistic looking one, maybe this first one here. So if I upscale this image now, I once again get the image created at the bottom of my chat now. You see that the image can be opened in the browser, but the resolution is the same that we have inside the grid. So if you compare this size of the image with the one in here, there is no difference. So it's all about isolating the image here. There are ways to change the resolution and the aspect ratio and so on of our images, but once again, this will be covered a bit later in the course. However, after upscaling our image, we got more options available down here, and these options are something we should have a closer look at as a next step.